mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage. The 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo, what's going on? What the is going on, man? It's Willis Cooks here. Welcome back to another episode of Chill Will Radio. Welcome back to another episode of Chill Will Radio, man. This is episode number 14. Episode number 14, man. What are we speaking about here today? Before we actually get into that, I'll be so quick to jump into the main topic. I'll be excited for it, though. But before we actually jump into the main topic, right, first and foremost, I want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to everyone that's tuning in. Thank you for everyone that's tuning in. Thank you for everyone that won't be tuning in at this moment, but they will be tuning in later on in the show, probably like the middle part of it or whatnot. And thank you to those individuals who won't be tuning in at all solely because they have not caught on to it yet. You will catch on. You will catch on to it eventually. So, good looking. Let me start off. That's why I feel like I'm mumbling over my words. I don't have the music playing. There we go. But once again, welcome to another episode of Chill Will Radio here, where we will be speaking about mental health in the black community. All things mental health in the black community. The good, the bad, the ugly, the truth, the taboo stuff, the stuff nobody wants to talk about, the stuff we should be talking about. All of those difficult conversations that we tend to run away from will be had here. So, first and foremost, quick little check-in, man. How am I doing? If you're listening and tuning in, man, let me hear you. Let me know that you're near. Let me know that you're there. I always want to acknowledge those individuals that are listening. So quick, go into the chat room, say what's up, what's going on, what's the deal, things of that sorts. But what's going on, Willis? How you feeling? How was your week? Man, this week actually my body kind of kicked my ass a little bit this week, right? I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday. I feel like Thursday. I feel like my body shut down. Because I went into work and everything was cool, but about like an hour into work, I just felt out of it. I started getting agitated real easily. I was very, very sleepy. I had no motivation to do the work. I started to feel a little weird. My muscles started to ache. I started to get really, really cold. And I speak about this all the time, self-care, making sure you take care of yourself as much as you can. And it is always hard for a therapist to practice the things that he's teaching, right? Practice what you preach. That's hard, especially for a therapist, especially for someone like me who's constantly always moving around, constantly always doing things, right? So for me, I don't sleep. My biggest thing is that I don't sleep. I'm so busy, and I just think I got it. That's the problem with a lot of us, right? We think we got it. We don't really understand what's going to happen to ourselves until it actually happens. I know, like for me, between my 2 jobs, I haven't had a day off. Before Friday, because I took off Friday, I haven't had a day off since December, 13th, 14th. And even up until that point, Thursday, I didn't know when my next day off was going to be. Right? And even still with me working every single day between both of the jobs, I'm normally going to sleep around midnight, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning doing various things, right? And then I'm sure I said this on previous episodes before, but I don't eat, right? I don't eat solely because I don't really like food, right? I don't like the process of figuring out what to eat. So I'm going to eat when my body tells me I need to eat, right? I'm going to eat when I get a headache. It's like, oh shit, that's what I need to eat. But I stay hydrated. I stay drinking water, but I just don't eat, right? probably the most healthy person because I don't put food or anything in my body, but I'm out here moving around a lot, doing a lot of different things that cause my body to need the energy and the nutrition that it needs. But there's certain things I got to work on, certain things I got to do that. So starting off the new year for me, it has been relatively kind of slow. But that's okay, right? Why is that okay? Because it's just the first week, right? We don't want to beat ourselves up because we didn't start the new year off the way we were supposed to or the way we thought we were going to do, whatever the case may be. And even though it did start off slow a little bit for me, you always have to understand where you're trying to get at the end. So I have my own little personal goals that I need to accomplish later on, month by month, sometimes week by week, but I have those things lined up, and this year it's about to be crazy. So you just have to, myself and everyone else included, you just have to remember where you're going. Have to remember where you're going. Have to remember where that journey is going to cause you to end up. Have to remember where that journey is going to cause you to end up. Only because if we don't, we're going to get caught up in the problems that we have today, and then the problems that we have today is going to cause us to forget about everything that we have going on tomorrow. Obviously, it's very, very important that we need to remain present. I've said this before in the past, on a previous episode, that anxiety is about focusing on the future, and depression is about focusing on the past, and it's important that we stay present. It's important that we stay present and in the moment, but it's hard when you got all of this shit going on. You got bills to do, and you got the government shutting down, saying you ain't finna get your refund check, and there's so many people that live off of that. You know, I know a lot of people who wildin', but you know, just don't forget where you're going, but at the same time, be mindful and focus on where you're at right now, so you don't lose track. So you do not lose track, right? So doing that, right, that's going to actually lead us into the self-care piece of the week, right? And it's a good segue into the self-care piece, because this piece is actually about helping us understand the importance of reassessing your priorities and why it's important to reassess your priorities, right? Because sometimes we be taking on things that's not our problem. We be taking on priorities that's not really our priority. Like, at all. We take on other people's problems, then that other person's problems is like number one on our list of priorities. So now all of our shit is fucked up. So now we forget where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to get there. The next thing you know, we're just lost. And now we're just blaming that person and blaming this other person and everything else that's going on, right? So it's important to understand that we have to reassess our priorities in many different things, right? But how do you get to the point to where you can reassess your priorities, right? First and foremost, you have to ask yourself what's most important for you. What's most important for you right now, right? What's most important for you right now? Is it that family? Is it that job? Is it work? Is it your kids? Is it your career goals? Is it whatever it is that you want to be? What is most important for you right now, right? Put that up there as number one or whatever the case may be. And then where do you want to spend? Gosh, this music in the back is ridiculous. Hold on. Let me fix this. Whatever. I don't know what I just did, y'all. Oh, well.
There's no such thing as a perfect writer.
Advertisement. You are, my bad. Let's get this right. Okay, forget that. All right, but as I was speaking about, dang, I just blew my whole little mind. Priorities. Oh, what's most important for you right now? What's most important for you right now? Also, where do you want to spend the most time at, right? Where do you want to spend the most time at, and where do you want to spend the less time at, right? We sometimes we don't really understand that, or sometimes we don't catch ourselves spending time with things that are most important to us. We more so spend our time and our priorities with things that do not matter at all. And then we get mad and wonder why I haven't really accomplished or achieved anything that I really want to in life, solely because my head isn't really in the game or in that situation, right? So for the self-care piece, and my tip for the week actually is to reassess your priorities. Write the list out, figuring out what you want to accomplish, what's most important to you, where you should spend the most time at, and where you should spend the least time at. What's most important for you right now at the moment, like I said, school, work, family, kids, whatever the case may be, handle it. Figure out what's most important for you right now so you can make sure you stay on top of your game, right? But before we get into the main topic of the show today, there's one little piece that I was supposed to say in the first 5 minutes, but hey, I was focused on something else right now. But good news, the Good News Radio Show is giving away some money. It's an easy way for everyone to get some money. I think it's like $25, man. Easy way for us to get $25. And in California, man, you need that You need that gas money, that extra $25, the extra bills, extra whatever. So, in the way to get those $25, you have to listen for a secret word in 4 shows. My show, obviously, the Get Right, which actually came on today, 10 o'clock this morning. Ladies Night, which came on Friday, and then my man Keith Monday morning, which come on tomorrow. So the Get Right, they've already had their show. You can go back and get that word from their show. The Ladies Night, they've already had their show, which was Friday. You could also go back on their show and get that. And Keith's show Monday morning is actually on Monday morning, 8:30 in the morning, to get his secret word. I don't know what the other words is for the show, because I was at work. I didn't actually have the time to listen. However, my secret word is rules, right? I don't even know what the whole phrase is because I can't get the money. Keith, you kind of cold for that. I need the gas money too. But my secret word is rules. I don't know really where that applies or how that goes, but to the listener who's actually trying to get the money, once you listen to those 4 shows and you have those 4 words and you have the phrase, DM the Good News radio station, or you can email them. The best way probably is to DM them. DM them, let them know what that phrase is, and they will give you your $25 gift card. If you live out of state and you live somewhere else, Cash App, Venmo, all that good stuff, you will get your money somehow. So, moving into the main topic, man, it is so glad that I got my boy back. My boy Keela.
Yo.
Back in the studio. And it's gonna be a few people. I'm sure this is the second time, but this ain't gonna be the last time. It's gonna be here again sometime in the future. But there's always gonna be people that comes back on the show more than once. Keela, I'm actually glad that he came back on the show this time so we can speak about, a subject that's very, very important, right? Young fatherhood within the Black community, right? Because a lot of and before we even really dive into this topic, I want to give a shout out to my man Keela, give a shout out to my man Tony. Give a shout out to my man Legs, give a shout out to my man Jarrell, my man Show, my man Chronic, my man Timbo.
A lot of us.
Who else is a young father out here? My big brother, he just had a kid. He ain't no young father, but Sandy. Who else? My cousin Jawari. Who else? I got another little one that's on the. It's not mine, but it's not mine. But my other homie got another one that's on the way. I don't want to shout him out yet because I don't know if you want to give out that news. But shouts out to him because I know he's going to be a superb father. I just want to give a shout out to those individuals and to my KP as well. I forgot about him. I just want to give a shout out to those individuals because I mentioned in the Instagram post when I spoke about this show is that I don't know any deadbeat fathers. And growing up, that's all I heard, right? Black fathers are deadbeat fathers. Black fathers ain't shit. Black mothers are growing up in a single parent household and things of that sort. Is when you do the research, you'll begin to understand that the vast majority of children, they're living in two parent household. So the whole black male not being a father and not in a child's life, that's a huge myth. Right? That's a huge myth. That isn't mistaken. The other thing that we don't speak about when we speak about those things is the incarceration rates, the death that goes on in the community, all these other things that black males have to deal with, right? So being a father is something that a lot of black males want to do, but because we have all of these things stacked against us, it is hard. However, like I said, I don't know any deadbeats. And I'm very, very fortunate of the fact that I don't know any deadbeats. And to all of those individuals that I just shouted out, to all of those individuals that I don't know who are superb fathers, superb black fathers, and you've had your kid at a very, very young age, shouts out to you, man. I think, Keela, you had your kid at what age?
My first son came at the age of 18.
18 years old, man. Where was you at that age?
Oh, man. I was still in high school, man. I found out about him 4 days before I walked the stage. And he came, that was June, and then he came in August. And so as you can see, my whole life was changed in a matter of less than 90 days, and it just, from then on, it catapulted me into fatherhood, and the crazy part is, a lot of people don't know, my oldest son had developed a disease a week after he was born.
A word?
Yeah, spinal meningitis.
What's that?
It's a bacterial disease that affects like your spinal cord, and it deals with the neural system and nerves and things like that. And literally, he was born August 31st, September 11th. He was in the hospital. I had to put on a whole suit and touch him and things like that. Me and his mom both young, and my first couple months of fatherhood was in ICU, bro. Yeah. Like ICU. I remember going to Southwest, catching the train all the way to Long Beach Memorial every night, and I used to go in and pray like God. Because you have to, at that time they were still building up Children's Hospital part over there in Long Beach, and you used to have to walk through the main campus, right? Yeah. And I used to just see so many families like crying and thinking, I'm 18 years old, like, man, I pray that my son's still alive by the time I get.
It had to be scary. Like every day you're going there, it's just like you said, a prayer.
Yeah, definitely, man. It woke. I didn't have time to like mentally prepare to be a dad. You know, some guys, they find out in the beginning. I found out 2 months before he came, you know, so I had to tell my mom and tell my family, you know, the schooling I was supposed to go to, all these different dynamics, man.
What do you feel like that did for you at that point in your life? Like how traumatic that was?
It started a long line of inner depression.
Yeah.
And that's just me being honest. I never really understood that until now, but when you're 18 and all your friends are going to school, all your friends are living a full college experience, and here you are learning how to make formula and you know what I'm saying? Water and things like that, and on top of that, you feel like you let your family down. Like my mom bust my lip when I told her, like, boom, it was over. and I felt like I let my family down, my dad, my mom, my grandmother, everybody around me, because they knew it was, you know, we don't regret Jaden, but they knew it was so much more to me to be stagnant like that.
Kind of disappointing.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though, like you said, the child itself isn't disappointing.
Yes, sir.
Just the initial act is such a surprise. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's still a surprise. He's 9 years old now, praise God, and he'll be 10 next year. Well, I'm sorry, this year. He lets me know this year, and he tells me all the time, like, Dad, I'm about to be 10, and I'm just like, man, 10 years ago I became a dad. Yeah. Like, wow, like 10 years ago, and I'm only 27. I'll be 28 next week, and so
happy birthday, bro.
We appreciate it. It's just. It just put me into another category of a human being, you know, especially being a young black man in the city and inner city and needing family support. You know, I'm 18. I didn't have a great job. I didn't have, you know, my son's first babysitter after he came home from the hospital was his great grandmother, my grandmother. You know, I couldn't really afford too much of nothing. I used to recycling cans, financial aid, things like that, trying to figure it out, because you gotta see, I still had a high school mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was only 18. I just got out of high school. So I'm still trying to figure out me in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, my dad, I remember he was real hard on me my first couple years of parenting. Like, you do it on your own. And I didn't understand why.
How do you think that was good advice at that? Now looking back,
no. I think now looking back, I think he was just doing what he knew, what he thought was best. Number one, he was still disappointed in me. So let's bring that. He was microaggression, you know, because you get what I'm saying? Because here my son is doing the same thing I did, had a kid at a young age, and not really have nothing going on for yourself. And I think in his own way, he was giving me tough love. Now I can keep him away from my kids. You know what I'm saying? Now he helps me, but at that time I had to really go through it, and then my mom and then Jaden's mom as well, just trying to figure all that out at 18, and then he just was in a hospital, like he was fighting for his life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was tough. You get up. So it was just to see him now and all the great things he's doing now at the age of 9 is truly a blessing. But then, like I said, that catapulted me into fatherhood. You know, then more kids start coming.
More? So how many you got?
I have 5 children. 5 kids. Yeah, and I'm proud to say that. I'm proud to say that.
I got 5.
Yeah.
5.
3 boys and 2 girls. Jaden age 9, Jeremiah age 8, Kyrie age 7, Kyra age 5, and Amara age 2.
So, obviously me, right? I'm a lot of here is going to be a lot of question and answer, right? Because I have a lot of questions when it comes for you, when it comes to fatherhood, obviously, because I don't have no kids, right? I don't have any kids. Do I want kids? Yes. Do I want kids right now, at this moment? Hell the fuck no. Hell the fuck no. Because I see, you know, I see how fatherhood or parenthood, you know, whether it's with mothers or with the father, you have no more life. Your life is done. Your life is for that kid. And me, myself, I'm still a little bit selfish in regards to what I want to do, in regards to the things that I want to accomplish, right? So when it comes to you and just going back to that first few moments, one, you knowing 2 months before he was actually born, and then when he was born, what'd you say, 11 days or 2 weeks or something like that?
About a week and a couple days.
A week and a couple of days, so let's just say 2 weeks. 2 weeks into it, he's back on ICU, right? And then that right there, and you have your father right there just I don't want to say shunning you, but you do the shit on your own type of thing.
Yes, sir.
Right? At what point did you realize, like, hey, I'm not sure if I could do this?
To be completely honest with you, Willis, I tell myself that every day.
Yeah.
I ask myself that every day now. I'll be 10 years in next year, and I still have those moments like, man, I don't know if I can do this, you know? And that's what, every time I ask myself that, a kid will come and say, Dad, I love you. Or Dad, I thank you.
Yeah.
Or just give me a hug. Or Dad, you're the best dad. My kids do stuff like that out of the random. They've always been like that. But before they got to talking age, man, I just did not see myself. I knew what I didn't get from my dad in certain season of our life. And so I was like, I'm never going to be like that. Because I know better.
Yeah.
See, my dad comes from a different background. He didn't have neither one of his parents. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather was in the streets. My grandmother was in the streets. And my dad, after his grandmother passed away, he had the streets.
Yeah.
So I had to look at a lot of what teachings that he didn't have. He acted on his own. But my mama didn't play that, you know. And my dad, in his own way, didn't play that either. So I knew what to do. And I just was like, okay, I don't want to give up, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to do it. And so I just keep telling myself that, and then you just keep pushing forward. It was a taxi. I'm 18. I still want to party. You remember how it was?
Yeah,
I couldn't come to all the parties all the time.
Can't.
You get what I'm saying? So you just get to a point where you just say, okay, my life is not for me anymore, like you said. And it's one of those. It's like an epiphany, but it's a consistent one.
But at what point for you did you not allow your current? At what point was it for you? Did you not allow your current struggles, your current wanting, such as going out, going to a party and stuff like that, your current anger and all that other stuff, to go off and to kind of transfer into the child and how you are as a parent? Because
you know what, Willis, that's actually something that I'm just now tackling.
Okay.
To be completely honest, because I have microaggressions too, and frustrations and things like that. And sometimes you lash out on your kids and you don't even know why.
Not even sure, yeah.
And so I'm just now trying to be a better father. Like, okay, he didn't ask to be here, right? So I'm upset because he's daddy or being a kid when he didn't ask to be here. So what do I do to better my parenting? Do I put my phone down a little bit more? Do I talk to him, ask him questions instead of just trying to push him to the side and get on my face? You know, Young parents, we still trying to do us. When, you know, my mom drilled in my head, it ain't about you no more. It's not about you no more. It's not about you no more. And that took a long time to get. I'm talking about 4 or 5 kids later to get.
Why do you feel like it took so long?
To be honest, I think it took that long because I still didn't grasp what this meant. I had the kid.
What, fatherhood?
Yeah, I didn't. So, anybody can be a daddy.
Yeah.
Anybody, as long as you have the necessary tools, you can make a baby.
Yeah.
But to be somebody's father, you know, when you say my father, it's a lot of daddies, and you know, they say baby daddy.
Yeah.
But when you put the father into it, that responsibility and that love and that connection is there. And so I had to graduate to that. But you know, to be honest with you, like even now, when I got right with my dad, it seemed like it was a lot more easier. So now I have some things that I can relate to him with him. You know, me and my dad are like best friends now. I talked to him on the way here. And it took a minute for us to get there. But he has some things he had to forgive himself for, and then it just trickled down.
And a lot of us don't understand how important that right there is, right? The simple fact that we go back into our closet and fix up or clean up our closet that we've had with our parents, our mother or our father, because we don't understand how powerful intergenerational trauma could be.
Yes, sir.
Right? We don't understand that at all. You started to you mentioned about how your father somewhat shunned you a little bit because he was mad, right? Your father didn't understand how that could have crippled you when it comes to you being a father, crippled you when it comes to you actually having the confidence in being a father. And I know that even within itself is something, like you just said, you're still kind of forming into. But even still, right, a lot of the things that we go through as a kid can happen because of the things that our father has treats us, right?
Yeah.
I think back to a lot of the kids that come in and out of the hospital, right? I always tell people, a lot of the kids that come in and out of the hospital that I work at, they speak about suicide, they're cutting themselves, they're running away from their situation. All of the things that's going on in their life, it's not the kid. It's always the parent, right? And we don't understand how important it is for the parent to actually go seek therapy, how important it is for that father or that mother to go seek therapy, parental therapy, counseling, relationship therapy, anything that you need in order to fix the trauma that you have going on in your life. It's important for that parent to go back and do it because we don't understand how that's going to affect the kid.
I think now we have to start being accountable for the things that we do as parents. We can't keep blaming everybody else, but like start taking responsibility for me. You know, when my mom and my dad, they've been doing, well, my mom has always done that, and she hasn't been perfect. But I think once we start verbalizing, like what you said, okay, like, Mom, this is what happened, and this is how you reacted to it. See, sometimes you don't even know how you're reacting to something that you have. We always want to have a response, but you don't even know in your subconscious mind how you react to certain things, you know? And even like with me being a young dad, I'm still trying to not let their mothers get on my nerves with little stuff. You know, like tripping, like, you know, look how this is what we're doing right now. And I'm here. You get what I'm saying? Like you said, you don't know no deadbeat dads. I know why some deadbeats, not all, but I know why some deadbeats do the things that they do. Now, I know some guys out here that's really like, okay, I don't want anything to do with my kid, right? But I know some guys who's like, I don't want to deal with the mom. But then, honestly, me going through it, sometimes it ain't even the mom. It's the system. So for you we don't have that much of a voice. So for you to want to be a good dad, the system is always against you. Always.
I know a lot of single fathers like that. Right? They're because they don't have that. Co-parenting isn't good because the mother isn't really willing to be understanding of the situation, or they're trying to take everything from that father, or that mother is still mad at the fact that the father cheated on them, moved on. The father cheated on them, moved on. Fuck him and his new girlfriend. So I'm finna talk shit about the pops in front of the kid, and we don't understand how that is going to affect the kid and how that can cause the kid to go into different areas in their life.
Absolutely. As somebody who's dealt with that, I've been in courtrooms. Like, man, I just want to give up. My hand to the Lord. Even in child support, I don't want to have to go through this. And I'm trying to do the right thing. I might not have all the money, but they can have my time. Give me how many days you want. Why we can't have a clear understanding? And so it's never looked on our side of the track. Now, do I know some deadbeat dudes out here? Yeah, I do. I know some guys who ain't trying to do what they're supposed to do. But I know more guys who's trying than I do deadbeats. And when I say trying, it's easy for people to say, oh, go to the court and fight. But my dad himself has said, man, it takes a strong man to be in there and fight when everybody's against you and going up and downstairs and getting this signed, and you get tired and they already still taking your money, and now you got to go back to court, and then you still probably ain't seeing the kid between all this, so now you start missing them and you just get depressed, and then the mom is emotionally and mentally stressing you out, all for you to want to do the right thing. You get what I'm saying? And it goes both ways, but we on dads right now because we never get over. For example, if you can feel the difference between Mother's Day and Father's Day, then you know what the problem is. If you know when Mother's Day get, the whole United States shuts down. You can't get into a restaurant anywhere. But when Father's Day come around,
it's just another Columbus Day.
You get what I'm saying? And people know that feeling. And that lets me know that if you know that feeling and you know what it is, then you understand the problem. And the problem is that we are often overlooked, especially black dads. Especially us. Because automatically the stereotype is, oh, he in the streets, oh, he a deadbeat, oh, he ain't paying child support, oh, this, oh, that. And when you don't even understand that it's a system that's trying to pull us away.
And that's what people don't speak about, right? That's what we don't speak about, especially in media, other counterparts, everything like that. We don't speak about that system that's been formed and that's consistently working against the black male, you know, them being a father, right? Because we got all of these cards stacked against us, and like you said, sometimes it's easier to just be like, fuck it. I don't want to deal with it. You know, it takes a strong man to actually takes a strong man to actually go inside that courtroom, go deal with this, go deal with child support, go deal with visitation and things like that. I know a lot of black fathers who are working their ass off to get their child support payments reduced.
You hear me?
To get their visitation, to get more visitation rights and things like that. And they're a great father, but the mother and the system. Is beating their ass every single day.
You know it's bad when you call child support and they got an attitude with you.
Exactly.
Like you had an attitude with me,
exactly.
And I'm just trying to ask some questions. I'm just trying to do and I always wonder, like, the moms who, like, why are you still upset? But like you said, it goes back to mental health.
Exactly.
That same anxiety that we have for wanting to give up in the courtroom, the mom has not forgiven, and she still got some issues inside of her that she needs to get over.
Yeah.
And so see how important mental health and taking care of yourself is in the minute things, such as going to court.
Because it's not just you, right? A lot of times we think mental health is just us. It's just our depression, our anxiety, our anger, and all these other things. But no, it is you, but you don't understand how you can affect other individuals. And when you have that mother or that child in the household, they're looking at all of your actions.
Yeah.
Right? So when you have the mother who's still mad or still angry, still depressed and hurt because of what the father did back years ago,
right.
well before the kid was even born, and now that's affecting you as a mother and that's affecting the child right now. The child is, being affected solely because of something that went on in the past.
Yeah.
But
even me, I watch what I say.
Yeah.
Have I had some moments? Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I've never had a perfect season, but I always, even in my frustration, I'll say, take care of your mom when I drop them off. Take care of your mom. Love on your mom. What you getting your mom for your birthday? Because even because I'm in my feelings, I still want them to know that daddy was doing what he, daddy still, because my kids know when sometimes it's not just dad, it's mom too, or it's not just mom, it's dad too. I'm always be on both sides, but I'm doing my part to let them know. And now, like, my kids are older, a little bit older, so now they ask questions.
Yeah.
And so now I have to not bash, but also explain that we all make mistakes and we all hurt in different ways. And so even the way I communicate, especially with my sons, very, very important. I know we probably gonna tackle that, but with my sons, I've been intentional recently, and it's only been a few months, but I've been intentional recently to start speaking to them as a way of that it's not coming out of a lack of masculinity or anything like that. Like, don't be afraid to show your emotion. Am I hard on my sons? Absolutely, because I need them to understand that the world ain't gonna give you nothing.
Exactly.
But then I'm learning how to make a space, and it could just be me driving in a car, and them my oldest son, he's playing the sticks, or my baby boy, he's discovering some technological advancement on the iPad. I'll just turn the car down and I'll just talk to him, ask him questions like, how did that make you feel? Or what's going on with that? Or how do you deal with that? And those type of things are not, like, I love my dad, but I remember him really talking to me that, because he didn't know.
And that's really, really dope. That's really, really dope, and I really do commend you for that, because when we start to speak about toxic masculinity, that's something right there that really fucks our kids up.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're not teaching our kids how to communicate properly.
Yeah.
We're not teaching our kids that it's okay to be vulnerable. We're not teaching our kids it's okay to
our
express.
Sons, let's say that.
Let's say sons. We're not teaching our sons all of these things. Our sons don't know how to express their feelings. Our sons don't know how to be vulnerable. We have to be hard and tough and all this other reckless stuff that will not really get you anywhere in the world, right? It's important, like you said, you mentioned that, they have to be masculine when it's needed. However, when you're coming across a situation, it's important that we communicate those things. Like, the one thing I do commend my oldest brother for, is that when he disciplines his son, right, he goes back and he tells his son why I had to do that, right? A lot of times what happens is when we're disciplining our kids, we sometimes discipline them and that's that.
Yeah.
Or when we talking to them, we're talking down on them,
yeah.
right? You did this because of XYZ, stop being a fucking idiot and all this other reckless stuff. But we don't really help our kids understand the importance of their actions and why their actions led to this. Right? So what you're speaking about, hey, I'm allowing my sons to express their feelings and process and understand how to process this and understand the importance of being vulnerable, right? We have to tackle that toxic masculinity and make sure that it doesn't get to that.
I think like it says, it calls for a more conversation, but also seeking knowledge on how to be better. Stop thinking you know it all. You know, like especially with toxic masculinity, what society says, what social media says, and even what our parents and the culture of growing up in the hood says, that little boys are not to cry and things like that. Now, there are times where you need to be a Spartan warrior.
Exactly.
You're like, hey, well, listen, we ain't got time for none of that, but that comes into the point of you doing what you have to do, making sure things are done. Like I have stair steps, and my sons have little sisters.
Yeah.
So like, look, we don't have time for you to be like man up right now because we have things that we have to take care of. This is not a place and time to do that, because as a man, we look for you for leadership. We look for you for protection. But then also you need to understand that it's time and necessary to take time out to say, okay, oh, Dad, this is what's Dad, I was upset about this. Dad, I was upset about that. But I think with toxic masculinity, it's such a strong thing in our community that we don't even really know it, and
it's a new term.
Yeah,
we're not even sure what it is.
But I just learned how to process my emotions a few months ago after leaving therapy for 3 months. You know, and I'm from 27 years of not processing things, not knowing how to tell my dad I love him on a regular basis, even to the point subconsciously hugging and loving on my mom, like thinking I always got to be hard and be vulnerable with my mom. Like you get what I'm saying? Those type of things is embedded. You don't even know that it's embedded into your mental capacity. And so I think what we need to do is we need to create more resources for dads to understand that it's okay to come here. This guy, his name is, I believe, is Jason Wilson. He runs a cave of it's called the Cave of Abdullah. He's from out of Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
He runs a who?
It's called the Cave of Abdullah. So it's a space for young men to go through a rites of passage.
Got it.
Through male rituals. He teaches martial arts, but also teaches them
like
guy,
the bald head
guy,
dark skin dude. Okay,
right. Yeah, his book. I believe his book comes out this month. It's called Cry Like a Man, something like that. I'm gonna get the book. But just watching him, how he's been doing, and he's implementing certain things like martial arts on how to teach them how to cry or how to express yourself or how to be angry and how to use your anger and things like that. But what I love about his program is that he not only challenges the child, he challenges the parents, like to the next level. So you're not in this by yourself. Because we forget that our kids are kids and they're learning from our actions. Yes, sir. They don't know anything. Yes, sir. They don't know anything at all. It is on us. It is our responsibility to teach these kids how to teach these sons how to be leaders, teach these daughters how to be princesses and be respectful of themselves and respect their bodies and things like that. It's on us. Yeah, like I know with my 5-year-old girl, she's a girly girl. Yeah, she likes all girly, but she rough. And it's because of her brothers. Like she feel like she gotta prove herself all the time. My 2-year-old, she ain't no joke. She like girly stuff too, but they're rough. And so now I'm like, okay, here we go. But what I did do when I started having daughters, not because I had daughters, because I learned that it's the right thing to do, I started getting rid of double standards. Yeah. Now, did I get rid of all of them? No. Like some things, no, well, hold on. But most of them, for example, she should be able to do something and they should be able to do something. Like, I'm not going to let my son bring a guest over of the opposite sex at a young age, and because it's cool. Yeah, you got your first little girlfriend, but then my daughter can't bring her little friend over, but there are some still as a dad, like, oh, wait, hold on, I got to check them. But overall, creating an environment that we're all equal with having girls. Now, am I a little bit harder on my oldest son, my oldest child, period? Yeah. Because of the responsibility that he may carry. I was just going to ask you, how do you curate that environment without showing any type of favoritism? So it took me a long time to get used to it, because my oldest son, with his mom, he's the only child. But with me, he has siblings. Yeah. And so it's sometimes he's selfish. Sometimes he's not. He gets a little bit more on his mom's side because it's just him, as to where us, we budget in, we breaking bread together. Now he's getting older. I need you to pick up after, like, help me. Yeah. But then also, Jaden gets a little bit more. For example, he's the musician, so I'm really because he's older. So I'm like really focusing on his gift. Yep. As to where I'm trying to make room for his little brother to get into his gift. Mm-hmm. So I now got to be like, okay, I can't show favoritism. Then my daughters are dancing, and Jaden's drumming. Like I say, Jaden all the time, man, you're at 9, you're doing what you love to do all the time. Mm-hmm. So stop thinking like it's just, so now they have to say, well, Jaden got this, and well, Jaden got that, or well, Kyrie got this, and it's just, it's a constant battle. It took me a long time to show favoritism, but a lot of that, and I'm just now recognizing that with Jaden, is because he was sick. And this is my first time ever admitting this, like right now. Mm-hmm. And so our family naturally was like, man, Jaden was very sick. So number one, he's the first child. He's the first grandchild of my mom, the first great-grand of my great-grandma. So we automatically like, whoosh,
go towards him.
You get what I'm saying?
He was sick,
and
so
he was sick and things like that. He still has trouble with his hearing and things like that. So that, a lot of that was that in my subconscious mind. But then when you the firstborn, you the oldest, when I go, you make decisions.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta figure it out. But then also, like, my baby boy, he's very emotional. He's more emotional out of everybody. He's very sensitive, and I show him a lot more love physically than I do Jaden. And sometimes it's hard because, but with Jaden, I show a lot more love in conversation and his music when he wants to listen to his songs and we jamming and we rocking. And then as to where Kyrie, he wants to cuddle up and watch cartoons together because that's just his thing. Now my girls are my girls; they always all over me.
Yeah.
But it's a constant way to say, okay, you're never gonna get it right. And once I got to that point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just do the best that I can. But I do also make sure that we do things together, but we also do things separately.
At what point was it for you to where you had to really dive into yourself and make sure that, your previous life and even still the life that you live today doesn't negatively affect the kids?
Within the last year. I saw a lot of death this year. I've been doing a lot of rebounding from the things that I've been through, but my kids are stepping into their own. Jaden is doing music, and Kyrie, he's trying to code and create apps and all this type of stuff. He's 7. And so now I'm like, okay, I have to get to a place now where I'm now investing in them for the things that they love to do. And so, now, Keela, you got to work on yourself. Now you have to create an environment to where they say, okay, I feel safe when I'm with Dad, and I know Dad is going to have my back. I know Dad is going to love on me when I'm probably wrong. And I know Dad is like, I want it to be where they ran to me, not just because they needed something, but because they wanted to run to me.
Was there anything, though, that you were kind of weary of transferring onto your kids, whether it was aggression, whether it was previous...
My passive aggressiveness.
Okay.
And I see that in my sons, especially my baby boy. He gets real mad. But I struggle with just what I've done to them now. Nobody lives with me. Well, Kyrie lives with me now, but I didn't create the perfect family home. So now they have to go to their mom's houses and live a whole nother lifestyle, and then come over to me, they live a whole nother lifestyle. And that eats at me, because I'm like, when I want to move on with a woman and things like that, they always have to consistently be, that's their mom, but why you and I with my mom?
Exactly.
Kyrie saw a picture of me and his mom 6 months back, and he cried because he saw the picture. He's like, I wish that, we could be a family again.
How does that affect you, though?
Man, I deal with it every day sometimes, to be honest with you. It affects me. I try not to get depressed about it or get, into my feelings about it, because I understand this was the past. I was young. I made some decisions. But when you see your friends who are quote unquote did it the right way, found the wife, had the kids, and you don't have to worry about child support, and you don't have to worry about picking kids up, you don't have to worry about what days to come. It's a lot more at ease over there. And I'm not saying they don't have their struggles, but I always tell guys, like, bro, you don't know what it is like to, get your kid, and he's lived a whole nother lifestyle for a week, and then you get to him. Now you have to detox him for the things that he possibly learned, instead of just having that one roof, and we have this one set standard. But it's tough, because as a man, you want to create an environment to be like, okay, Daddy got you. But then sometimes I feel like I let them down because I didn't stay with their moms, or now they gotta pack bags to come to Daddy's house for a couple days, or pack bags to go to Mommy house. So it's always it's shifting, and it's not right, But
then sometimes, all the time, you have to be at least okay with the fact that Daddy don't have it all.
Yeah.
Because we fight so much and with ourselves at the fact that I can't give my sons and my daughters and my children everything that I believe they should need, and then my children aren't happy because me and Mama isn't together, and they don't really understand why we're not together. So I'm trying to at least be cool with the mother, but the mother is bashing my head with all sorts of recklessness, and she's telling all the kids all these other things. So it takes for the father to dive into themselves and to just say, okay, right, with the fact of where they're at, what's going on, so that doesn't transfer onto the kid. You spoke before about accountability, and why we not even just as fathers, but just as black men, have to be accountable of our actions, and even more so have to be accountable of our feelings and where we're at that moment. See, a lot of times what I've realized when it comes to children who have rough upbringings and their father is in their lives, it's because their father, with their parents, their father and their mother, they refuse to be accountable of their actions. They refuse to be accountable of the type of parent that they are, right? It's hard for me to speak to parents when I'm doing some form of counseling or therapy, because a lot of times I don't want to sit there. A lot of time as an individual with no kids, it's hard for me to tell a parent that, hey, your kid is in this position because your parenting skills need to be reevaluated. So at what point, does the parent have to sit back and really just be accountable? That's why I believe therapy, not even for the family, but for self, right? Before you even get into, being a parent. And I believe anybody, who goes into parenthood should seek some form of therapy, because we don't understand how our previous traumas will affect our children. And we don't understand. Sometimes we don't even know that those previous traumas are there.
Yeah.
Because we've been behaving on them for so many years, we think this is just how we are. And then we sit back and wonder why our children are behaving a certain way. It's a lot of things in our closet that we have to unlock, but because we refuse to go back into that closet, it's fucked up to say, but we allow our kids to go through the nonsense because we ourselves don't want to face our own personal fears.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just like you said, you don't know what your parents put on you. You could have the perfect mom and dad was together, but you don't know some of your dad's misogynistic ways, or you don't know your mom's fully submissive ways. So the things that we think are pro could be actually a con when dealing with somebody else. Like I remember if you've ever seen Love and Basketball, when Sanaa Lathan was getting into it with her mom, it's because her mom was willing to be submissive to the point where the dad feel like she worked too hard, and the dad never recognized it, but he figured out, oh, that's my wife, she just does it, and she had this reserved anger inside. And then Monica, the character, she wanted to be more than just what she saw her mom, and that's what led her passion to basketball and things like that. And so I think even when we think it's positive, can also be a negative in a different situation. And like you said, I think going to counseling, it brings out things that you don't even know that's there, and you don't even know the trauma that's there. For example, I know, growing up with my mom, my dad is a very mellow dude, very humble, soft-spoken, things like that. I have his swag, but I always say I got my mom's personality. My mom and dad have never lived in the same house that I can remember. You get what I'm saying? So I have my mom's explosive abrasiveness, and then I got my dad's charisma and charm and things like that. So I fuse that together, and it's sometimes I talk a lot. I'm like, why you talk a lot? I get from my mom. You get what I'm saying? I get that from my mom, and my dad is not like that. But I never seen them coexist. So I imagine if they were to coexist, how my mom probably would have tuned down, and my dad would have probably spoke more and expressed his feelings more. You know what I mean? So you would think, we use sometimes the good things about each other, but then what if they came together and it can balance each other out? And you never really know. And I believe when I went to therapy, one of the things was I didn't learn how to process anything, and so I'm pulling out things in therapy that I never even talked about, from childhood trauma to my mom and dad not being together, to not having any marriages in my family, so I didn't even know what that looked like, to following in the same trap of having kids and different women, and it's how it's shunned upon and looked upon. And so those things really had a play on my heart, and I'm getting to the point now, I'm like, okay, this is where you are, Akilah. This is being accountable for where I am. You make some decisions. You knew better, but you chose wrong. And that's the point I got to in the mirror. I've never been naive, and I've never been ignorant to those things. But because I had this trauma or stuff that I never really dealt with, I'm acting out because I needed something. And I'm acting out, even though I knew better. You get what I'm saying? You're not supposed to drink and drive, but you're so worried about having a drink. And you ready to get home, it doesn't matter because it's not even it's what you needed the most at the time. And so I just acted out, even though I knew better. I always say, my mom raised me right. I just did wrong on my own. You know what I'm saying? So that I think with that, like you said, we have to create an accountability, not just as a parent, but as a black man, as a man, period. Because now you don't even understand the decisions that you make affect everybody around you, even your friends.
Yeah, we have to be that one in our family, even in our circle, to stop that, to break that chain of divisiveness, to break that chain of toxic masculinity, right? It starts with someone. Yeah. You know, why not let it start with you, or start with the father, start with whomever it is? And it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. Yeah. You know, gaining that confidence, and I don't really know if we will ever fully be confident in being a father, right? I know with myself, you know, I'm 27 now, so at this age, I've actually been thinking about kids a whole lot more. I'm not like trying to have kids tomorrow, right. But I've been thinking about how I'm going to raise my kids, right? Mm-hmm. What are certain things that I can't allow my kids to go through? What are certain things that I refuse to certain feelings and anger and certain things that I've went through in my life to not transfer onto my kids? Mm-hmm. What lessons will I teach my kids, mm-hmm. right? How will I teach them, right? So when it comes to you, how were you able to really kind of, and even though you're still learning as you go, your kids are still, you're still young, so you're still learning even with yourself, right? You're still even learning Keela.
Yes, sir.
So the sense, right? But how have you been able to really sit them down and teach them certain lessons? And what lessons have you been able to teach them?
You know what? I think the best way I was able to teach my kids lessons is when they make mistakes. I didn't just try to just drill lessons.
You're not just shunning them.
Yeah, no. Like this is so. Yeah. Some things they know better. Like you know you wasn't supposed to do that. But when it comes to like important things, like lying, or misbehaving at appropriate times, or hurting, like fighting each other, being mean to each other, I start dealing with the things that they're sensitive about. Like I know when the boys fight, they automatically blame each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Automatically, and Jaden's big. He's a big 9-year-old, and then Kyrie's a small 7-year-old. And so now they're fighting, and they're probably blaming each other. And so I look at whatever they struggle with the most. Mm-hmm. You know, for example, Kyrie struggles with talking back. He wants to get the last word.
Oh,
he's his dad's child. And Jaden struggles with lying. And so now I'm like, okay, this is where we are. I want to know how we got here. Sometimes when I'm upset, I say, just go do what you need to do. Let me calm down before I deal with you. But I also create a space to say, like Jaden lied about a couple things during the school year. The first time he lied, I let him slide. I said, okay, I'm going to believe you this time because I want you to know that dad got your back.
You think that was the right thing to do?
I don't.
Okay.
But in the situation, as a father, I needed him to know at that moment, because I reprimanded him a lie later, but he was so in his heart, he just wanted somebody to believe him. And honestly, to be real with you, with that situation, I actually really believe him. And it's very far-fetched, and it's a small percentage that he was telling the truth. But that moment, I believed him. I don't know why.
But the thing with that is what you kind of just skated over is the fact that we don't listen to our kids. Mm-hmm. Right? Our kids and our children, our sons and our daughters are telling us everything. Everything that's wrong with our kids, they're telling us.
That's good.
Right? But we don't listen to them. Right? Sometimes we got to get out of our bag and thinking I'm an adult and I know it all and I'm a father or I'm the mother and I got it that our kids don't know any better. Right? When sometimes we just have to sit back and listen. So with you saying that, you know, your kid, your son just wanted to be heard or just wanted somebody to listen to them. Right? I'm sure that kind of adjusted your approach a little bit.
It did. And I just loved on him. I was like, Jaden, I got your back. You're going to cry. We're going to cry because he wants me to believe him and things like that. And so instead of just fussing at him and yelling at him, and I've been working on that period, I show him how disappointed I am at him instead of showing him my anger.
Yeah.
Because anger is temporary, but disappointment can last. Like,
wow.
You get what I'm saying? I'm disappointed in you. I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed in you. And them seeing that, or him seeing that, he creates another humility within himself. Yeah. So now, like, Dad's not mad. He's not gonna hit me. He's not gonna pop me. I'm not gonna get a whooping. But now he's like, okay, I have to now think about what I've done, and now I have to understand why I can't go play music, or why I can't get on the set, or why I can't do what I want to do. So now I'm creating space to where he starts to think about what he's done. Because now at a young age, he needs to learn accountability. He needs to learn that you don't throw your jacket on the floor, hang it up, or if you need help, ask for help. He needs to learn it's consistent routine, because I'm going to be gone one day. and you're going to have a family of your own.
Yeah.
And so I'm teaching him micro lessons because I need him to understand. Like when we came home from church, he came, they was cleaning up. Like, hey, I had a long day yesterday. We need to push this to the next week. So before you do everything you want to do, collect the trash. You know, Kyrie's like, Dad, why do I always have to collect the trash? Or why does Jaden have to do this? And now I got the fight.
Yeah.
But do this and do that and do this and do that. And I'm creating ways to where they need to be accountable for themselves, even at a young age. Because I don't want to wait till they're 16 and 17 to not be accountable. I want you to be able to be accountable now. You're a kid. I'm still going to let you be a kid. And I've been working on not being so hard on them. But I do believe that when you start small with small things, they start to think about the things that they've done. And so now I don't even have to fuss at them or yell at them. They'll come to me and say, hey, Dad, like Kyrie, Dad, I sound just like him. Hey, Dad, I just want to let you know that I'm sorry for so-and-so.
Yeah.
And he'll give me a hug and kiss, and he said it won't happen again. Or he'll let me know, Dad, I know you're disappointed in me, but it is okay if I do this and that. Or if I told him he can't do something and I change my line later, he'll be like, but Dad, you told me that I'm not allowed to do that, so that's why I'm not doing that. So now I'm creating conversation within himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even have to say anything. He's thinking about it on his own because he know he's messed up.
And it's the conversations that we don't have with our children.
Mm-hmm.
We and just even as a community, right, growing up, we were so quick to get our ass beat that we don't really know what we did wrong or why.
Can I say something real quick?
Reason, yeah.
I learned when I was in school, I read an article about why kids say why. And in the black community, it's two ways you can look at it. So the grandmother who wrote the article, she was talking about, you know, the young kid generation, they always question their parents, things like that. Back in her day, they didn't question parents. Yes means yes, no means no. And even back then, and when you get into the article, she was right. I forgot her name, but she was writing and she was saying that back in those days, when the Klan,
they don't have the time to really ask for why.
When the Klan used to come to the neighborhood or to the house and they throw bombs in your you could be sitting at the table. Let's go. Our kids, where we going? Why are we going? By all that time, they could have came in and killed everybody, blew up the house. But then they come from a different place that you just listen to your parents no matter what. The good thing is with safety and precaution. But the bad thing is like you said, later down the line, that same culture of because I said so. And I struggle with it now. Like, I'm your dad, don't ask me no questions. I'm getting better at it. But even that culture passed down, so now our kids, like you said, can't have a conversation or can't express themselves or can't, say what's going on within inside themselves or what's going on, because whether we want to believe it or not, our children suffer at school.
Yeah.
They go through things at school. My third grader goes through things at school. People could be picking on him. The teacher could possibly not showing favoritism to other kids. So the things that we remember, like, why can't our kids go through the same thing? Bullying and gangs. We just never had who do we talk to about, dealing with gangs at school? We didn't have nobody to talk to. You know what I'm saying?
You had to figure it out on our own.
I never talked to my dad about that type of stuff. I didn't learn the birds and the bees or Bloods and Crips from my dad or my mom. I learned by just living. But my kids ask me this, what does that mean? Is he a gang member? My son, he knows I do a lot of ministry. He's always asking me about the funerals that I go to. Did that person die? How did they die? Why did they die? And so my 9-year-old is like now understanding what death is through a conversation.
And these are the conversations that we need to have, but we always run away from.
Yes,
we don't
sir.
have these conversations about sex. We don't have these conversations about. We don't have these conversations about death, right? We don't have these tough conversations with our kids. So that forces people to ask, when is the right time to have these conversations? I believe just as men, as that father, I believe you should have that conversation with your children as early as possible. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we think children are too dumb. Mm-hmm. No, these kids are really, really, really smart out here. So those conversations that we're having, it's best that they have them with their fathers or their mothers versus them having them with the stranger on the street.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know. And then it takes, you don't want to rob innocence too, because having the conversation on the street, bro, we was exposed to everything at a young age, like boom, boom, bop, bam.
Yeah.
And we were robbed of our naivety a little bit. I'm not saying have your kids just out here in Wonderland, but there is still a sense of that. I want my 5-year-old to still believe in lollipops and fairies and play Barbies. But when I used to work for the school district, I remember 5-year-olds and they don't play house anymore. There's no mom and dad. They play baby showers.
Yeah.
You know, they putting the little covers. This is outside in the playground. They're putting the covers under their shirts to show that the pregnant mom, and they, you know, you got the taco person, and here's the candy bar. These are things what our 5-year and 6-year-olds are seeing. You get what I'm saying? And they're automatically being robbed. Let's not get into, like, you know, at that age, experimenting different feelings and touching, and you can't even just blame the social media or what they see on TV anymore, because the parents do it right in front of them.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right in front of
Yeah.
them. Whether it's you know, I had little boys rolling up joints. They 6 years old, 5 years old, from what
but
they
we
see.
think that shit is cool.
Yes, sir.
And that's the issue. We think that shit is cool because our kids are playing around with it, and they might be laughing, so we're laughing at them and stuff like that. But we don't understand the effect that that's going to have later on in life.
Yeah.
We don't understand how our kids doing all of these things can cause them to be bullied, cause them to get bullied, cause even that to be like an early onset of certain addictions that can happen later on in life, because we just think it's funny.
Yeah, I think what helped me a lot coming up, my mom kept me in a lot of different programs, but she also kept me in church.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily church, but having a relationship with God when I got saved and things like that, following Jesus or learning how to follow Jesus. Those things, like, you know, how you said, will we implement in our children? Train up a child the way he should go, and when he gets old, he should not depart from him. My mom didn't raise me in church. When my mom got saved and came to her own spiritual faith walk, it was strictly on who you are as a person, her heart. Like, that's what I remember my mom. Yeah, she went to the church, and yeah, she helped and served. But when we had conversations later on, when she brought up the concept of God and you know, or who I believe God was, having God in my life never left. And so now I'm like, okay, even now as a parent, I love my kids. I try my best to love my kids or work with my kids the same way my relationship with God is. And everybody has their own different walks and things like that. But I know my relationship is very key and important to how I raise my children and how I love my children and how I communicate with my children. Because in my belief, my God he's open, he's loving, he's merciful. He reprimands. He loves me, but he also chastises me as well. And so having that, my spiritual walk with God and my, you know, being a follower of Jesus, those things have, like a lot of the questions you were asking, those things help me in the long run, because now I'm like, okay, if God loved me like this, patient with me, you know what I'm saying? When you pray, I know you, when you pray, God keep me. He don't ask you any questions. He's like, I got it. Like, it's always I got you. You get what I'm saying? It's always I got you. I want that with my kids. Like, I want to get to the point where my daughters tell me about, Dad, I got a crush on this boy. He ugly, but I like him. You know, I want that.
Those conversations, I think sometimes that I just don't want to.
You say that, and it's certain things you want to keep in culture of, you know, like, you know, nah, hold on. Like, I know Steve Harvey was talking about it a couple days ago. Like, his sons can bring their significant other on a vacation with the family, right? He gonna pay for his chick to come, but the daughter can't bring her boyfriend on the family vacation. Her fiance, yeah, but her boyfriend, no. Because, you know, at the end of the day, as a dad, I still need to know that you've proven yourself worthy to be on this side of the kingdom.
Exactly.
You know? And so it's certain things, there is no, in certain things with me, like, yeah, nah, that's a no for me, dog. But then also there's some things like I will want, you know, I will want my sons to be able to express themselves without tears. And I wanted to say this. This is my first shout out, probably my only shout out, to the family of Bernie Robbins Jr. He was killed December 5th last year, and he died December 7th, and I was blessed to officiate and preach his eulogy. 300-400 people. And what shocked me the most is that his brother died last year, and they buried his brother, and this was just past weekend, yesterday. The dad did not physically cry until it was time to close the casket. When I was visiting the family, when I was visiting him, taking food, or just being around him, this is Bernie Sr. He was hard. I got it, man. Thank you. He was being strong. He had daughters that he had to be strong for. His wife, which is the son's mother. I just saw that. Immediately, I'm like, man, black men don't cry. Like, bro, this is your son. You get what I'm saying?
You're
like,
not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. But I understood why he was doing it, because he was protecting and being strong for everybody else. But when it was his time,
You got to give themselves that time, and that's the most important thing. We got to give ourselves that time.
Well, I'm sitting right next to him. He just broke down. I'm thinking I was gonna see this all week. No, it was the last day, and he finally cried. Tears were falling from his eyes.
And that's a good and it's a very, very powerful thing. See, sometimes a lot of fathers teach our sons that we shouldn't cry,
right?
Shouldn't be vulnerable.
Yes, sir.
We don't need to be weak, solely because those fathers come from an environment to where they're not afforded the time to actually be weak. They're not afforded the time to actually be vulnerable. So they're just teaching their kids, because we're in this environment, I'm not able to be vulnerable, you can't be vulnerable either. Right? And we don't understand, and I've said this 1,000 times today, I'm going to keep saying this, that we don't understand how our current behavior and how our current environment is affecting our children. A lot of ways. I want to step into the comments real quick. Diddy asks, is a toxic mother more dangerous than an absent father?
Woo!
Is a toxic mother more dangerous than an absent father? I believe more so.
Would you like my opinion as a dad? Would you like? Ooh, that's a tough question.
Is a toxic mother more dangerous than a toxic father? I mean, than an absent father? I'm going to say, looking at my situation, right? I've never had a father. Never had a father. Don't even like the word dad or pops or anything.
Right.
Sounds weird coming out of my mouth. And I've never understood the importance of actually having a father. See, there are some kids who never have a father who aren't able to understand the importance of having a father because of their environment. I grew up around all dudes. You know this. I grew up around all men. All males, right? I've only been around one woman in my life, and that one woman was my mother. So I don't really know if I had time to really understand what an absent father is like. Now, if I had that, and if my mother was toxic, obviously yes, right? That would have been more damaging than the absence of the father. However, what I've noticed, it doesn't matter if the father is there or isn't there. It doesn't matter if the mother is there or isn't there. What matters is what's going on within that family system, right? Is it dysfunctional or not? Because if that family is dysfunctional, that father, no matter if they're present, that father could be present. But if that family is dysfunctional, that kid is going to be fucked. Right? So at the end of the day, it's more so about how are we going to operate as a family? How are we going to operate on the unit, despite if the father is there or not? Because if the father is there, great. But I've seen a lot of situations to where the father and the mother is there, and because it's still messed up because they both haven't attacked and really worked on themselves as a woman and as a man. Now, if they worked on themselves, great. But we have to come together as a unit, and the only way we can come together as a unit is if we worked on each other separately.
That's a really good question. I think no matter which way you look at it, it can be toxic, and still have negative connotation to it.
It's not going to be perfect.
It's not going to be perfect. So, for example, if I'm a toxic mother and the father is not there, I'm automatically creating an environment that's detrimental to my child. But if the father is not there and I'm a positive mother, like it's not a toxic environment, that does not mean things that like you said, that affect the child is not gonna happen. Because I know a lot of strong, good black women, and who are single moms who are doing it.
Yeah.
But just think about how guarded you are, because here you are raising this child by yourself, and if a man presents himself worthy, let me say that, worthy to love on you and love on your child, you're so guarded, and now you're pushing what your child could possibly need at this time away, not because you're toxic, but because it's not perfect. And so I know a lot of non-toxic women who have toxic ways. Does that make any sense?
No,
like you don't even know. And as the dad, coming up when I start having kids and I'm dating, you meet other moms.
Yeah. And
you and most of the time, the dad ain't around, or he halfway around, or he in another state. The son see him summer. Not the best of situations. I'm not here to judge. But when you okay, look, they want you to come in. They want you to halfway love. Does that make sense? They want you to halfway be the kid's dad. Now, I'm not coming in to be this child's dad, but a lot of non-toxic women who have toxic ways expect me to stop being a dad.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the child's biological father. if you already knew I was a father, I can't just turn this off. And so if I'm trying to, for example, a son, if I'm trying to love on your son, like, hey man, I'm trying to be me, but you like, nah, I'm like, you pushing me away in your own little way. Now you create a toxic environment, because now, now what if he starts to love me, like, hey, why I can't hang out with Keela? What's the problem, Mom? Because you ain't got over some things in yourself. Now you're in a great situation, and he's not, it's no negativity going on, but that does not mean we all do things in our subconscious mind, because at the end of the day, we all have something going on inside. And we, like you said, you've been saying it since the beginning, you don't even know what ways have affected your child.
Yeah.
And you could possibly create the greatest environment, but that does not mean that your child is not affected by that situation. Exactly. That's me personally. So it goes both ways.
It goes both ways, and at the end of the day, it's not really, is it a mother thing or is it a father thing? It's really more so, what are you going to do as the parent?
Right.
Period. Because we've seen trash mothers, we've seen trash fathers, we've seen really great mothers, we've seen really, really great fathers. But the thing is, just you as a parent, sometimes we have to. And I know me, myself, when I get the opportunity, if I'm blessed with, because it is a blessing, I'm blessed with the opportunity of going into fatherhood, I'm definitely going to make sure that, I tackle everything that's in my closet as best as I possibly can.
Right. Yes, sir.
Because we have to understand how important that is to really break that chain. So this generational trauma, especially black folks, we don't understand how much slavery affects our kids now because of what we did not tackle. We don't understand how much Jim Crow and how much segregation and all these other things affect us now. We don't understand how we operate, how we code switch, how we talk in different languages and things like that affect the way we are parenting. Right? But we have to dive into that. We have to be accountable. We have to understand that it's there. And that's the biggest thing. So I know with me, if I'm blessed with the opportunity to have a kid, that's something I definitely, have to tackle. So it's not more so, is it a toxic parent or absent father thing or whatever? It's no, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Period. What standard are you going to hold yourself on? Are you going to be this individual that's going to make sure you're there despite, because I'm sure you know this for a fact, it's one of the most difficult things in the world to be as best of a father as you possibly can, right? You briefly spoken about this, of the lack of confidence that you sometimes have when it comes to a father, when it comes to financial things. Okay, am I able to provide for my kid? As a black man, let me make sure I don't do something stupid so I don't get my head shot off, or that I don't go to jail, or whatever the case may be, because we have all of these cards stacked against us.
Yes, sir.
Right? But we just, as men, we have to give ourselves the opportunity to actually be vulnerable, because what we don't understand, that vulnerability is kind of like shedding off all of the things that we're holding on to, right? And us holding on to all of these things isn't going to do anything but cause us to be a much more aggressive, passive-aggressive father.
Yeah.
When we don't want to do that to our kid, because a child, they only pick up what we show them. So if we show them passive aggressiveness, that's what they're going to be. If we show them alcoholism, that's what they're going to be. If we show them domestic violence, that's what they're going to be. Right? That's not a guaranteed fact, but they are at higher risk of being that individual. Even with this R. Kelly bullshit going on right now, if we show our kids rape and molestation, it's fucked up to say, but they have a higher risk of being that abuser to someone else's child, because that's how they were taught. So there are things in our closet that we have to take care of now, no matter how difficult it may be, just so we won't allow our kids to go through that mess at all.
Yes, sir.
At all. Keela. So it's a lot of things that I picked up from this. Obviously, communication. Communication is one of the biggest things that I don't see when it comes to not even just fatherhood, but just parenthood in general, right? Communicating with your kid, with your child, that's the biggest thing. Being accountable for how you're feeling, for where you're at, going to seek that help, going to seek that therapy, and just actually understanding how what you're going through can affect that child. So when it comes to you actually being a young black father, what are some advice? Obviously, everything we've spoken about can be used as advice, but if you can dial everything down to one specific thing that you would give to your son, I'm your son, right? Your son is 18 years old, and your son just had a child. What would be the one thing you would tell your son?
Don't give up. Don't give up. because I didn't hear that. I hear it now.
Yeah.
But at 18, when you're confused, don't give up. Because that's tough, you know? If I honestly, man, my pastor says it all the time, stay strong. I would say that to any young dad, whether you in with the woman, not with the woman, if you got the nice family, if you don't, if you figuring it out, if you're trying to get it together, stay strong. Because your kids need you. Keep fighting. But the crazy part about it is, and I just got this principle through my dad, you're not fighting her, you're not fighting the mothers or the system, you fighting yourself. Because at the end of the day, you have to wake up and make a decision to be a dad. I'll use like this. When a woman finds out she's pregnant, automatically she's a mom.
Yeah.
Automatically she's a mother or expecting mother. Whether she does with that child after it's born, that's another conversation. But automatically you're a mother. But me, in my opinion, in my perspective, a man does not become a father until the kid gets here. You get what I'm saying? Because a woman can get pregnant and easily the dad can just disappear.
Yeah.
She's still a mom.
She's still.
But I believe, and this is my perspective, my opinion. Some people might disagree. A father has to literally make a decision and make a choice to be a father.
We have a choice
every step of the way.
That's something that we have to emphasize on, because I always say this. I will always say this: is that men should have no say so when it comes to the abortion conversation.
Yes, sir.
We should have no say so when it comes to the abortion conversation. We should, because it's not our choice. Right. We don't have the ability. We don't know what that woman is going through. We don't know what had happened in her life. We don't know any of that. Right. We're not. It's crazy that we are always the one making that decision. Right. The only thing I believe we as men should do when that situation comes up is just to be there, just support it. Whatever decision they decide to do, they have the complete choice to do it, whether it's to abort the child or not. That's their choice. But as men, I fucking hate when I see male politicians taking over that conversation, right? A politician taking over that conversation is misogynistic as fuck, right? So even what you said, like, yes, I didn't look at it like that, but I firmly agree with you to that point. We don't really become the father until the child is there, because we have the ability to leave. And nobody wants to say it because it's Disneyland version. Yeah. But it's the truth. Yeah. Like literally right now, I can just drop everything. But and this is why I wish sometimes other single black moms or black moms period would understand that I understand. Like, you know, when Tupac wrote Dear Mama, when you listen to that song, in the midst of her being on drugs, she was their mom. When she was with the Panthers, she was their mom. When they didn't have food, she was their mom. When he got famous, she was their mom. But every time you think about Pac's dad, or when they brought up the guys in their life, they always had a choice. You always have a choice to be there or not. And I think that's what we don't want to do. And I think that's why, as a man, you have to make that choice every day. And when I wake up, I'm going to choose to be their dad, be their father, and to be there. I have to make that decision. Not for the mom, but for myself. And so when my dad tells me, when he was been telling me all my life, is that love yourself, Keela. Make the decision for you. Don't do it for nobody else, but do it for you. Do it for yourself.
Do it for yourself.
Do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Kayla, you know who Kayla is. Kayla Wharton. Yeah. Ready? Go Nook.
Oh, that's my sister.
There you go.
That's my sister.
You made that face like, oh.
I'm like, it's Kalia. I'm
Kalia,
like, Kayla. Like, ain't no Kayla. Yeah. That's my little sister. What's up, sis? My sister.
What's the deal? Keith said he disagrees. I think he
on which part?
I'm not really sure, but he said he disagrees. The child has to be raised. I'm thinking that he's saying he disagreeing with the point of we are not fathers until that child is born. But you're right. The child absolutely does, for a fact, has to be raised, and it is at that point to how you're going to step in. But for me, it's more so. I mean, but he could also be speaking about, you know, the misogynistic things that I spoke about, how I don't believe men should really have a say-so
But by law, you can never see the child and just pay money.
Yeah, and it depends.
It depends.
It depends on the state, and obviously, I'm speaking from the standpoint of
Yes,
someone
sir.
who doesn't have a child.
Right.
My man Keith, he has a baby girl.
Okay.
So
Like I said, it's
different.
perspective.
It's perspective. But as always, I definitely always want to make sure that I leave you all with the question. I already asked Keela this question, but to all of the fathers and the mothers who are listening, ask yourself, when your child has that first child, when your child becomes a father, when your child becomes a mother, when your child becomes a parent, if you only have one thing to tell them, what are you going to tell them? Me, myself, I have no clue. I'm not even there yet.
Yes,
but the
sir.
fact that you said you're going to tell your child to not, you're going to tell your child to don't give up. That's something. Keith, definitely. I'm glad you're here. What do you disagree on, my brother?
What's up, bro? Well, for sure, man. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead.
All right, look. So I heard what you said about the whole abortion.
I knew it was.
Now, I'm a father, as you all know, and I think that I don't think that the father should be the decision maker.
You don't think the father should be the decision maker?
No. But I definitely think it should be a mutual decision. I definitely think
Okay.
if two parties are involved, I think that maybe there should be some type of even documentation. Does the father and the mother agree with this?
Okay.
If the father's
That's
not
good.
around, then I understand
That's
because
different.
there's a situation where fathers want to keep the child.
That's good, Keith.
And then the women don't. And I've seen that situation
A lot.
multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think at that particular situation where the father's like, look, I want to be
Right.
if you don't want to be the mom, like, I still want to be the dad, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think it should be more of a mutual decision. Than
Uh-huh.
That's what I disagree.
Can I get one of these?
Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. All right. I can agree with you.
And I agree because you gotta understand. For example, what if it's religious beliefs, or what
Yeah.
if what if it could be anything. So
Yeah.
I do agree that a father should be in the conversation. Now to make a choice, absolutely not, bro. It's not your decision, but like at least hear him out because he might want to have it. Like, hey, no. He might not believe in it.
Yeah.
He might think it's murder, and
Yeah.
then that might cause depression and anything on him. Because what we don't like to admit is that any real guy is gonna feel some type of way. Like when you like, okay, I want
for
you
a
gonna
fact.
you gonna feel it. Like what you mean? Oh, you gave it's not just in a manipulation way, but sometimes we would like that, and then it goes both ways, man. It
And then
goes both ways.
For me, like I said, I just always cringe when I see politicians running that conversation, and there's never a woman having that conversation for women.
Well, that's but that's
Right?
a deeper. That's another.
That's another subject. But for me, even in itself, it's just like, okay, as a politician, you need to go ask someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I heard a woman say this, which was pretty interesting. I heard we were complaining about the child support laws, and
Yeah.
alimony laws, and her defense, she said, "Well, men make the laws," and it was like, right, you know what I'm saying?
That's deep.
So the same situation, you know what I'm saying? Like, with this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it is men making the laws. Unfortunately, that's where it is a lot more female representation overall. But I think it's one of those double-edged swords. You know what I mean? Sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
You look at alimony and the way that's spousal support.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy. You know what I'm saying? Or even some child support. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But men make the laws there too, which don't help. A lot of men. But who knows? We can go back and forth all day.
At the end of the day, you better be a damn good father.
Take care of your babies, man. Take care of your
So like I
babies.
said, shouts out to Keith, shouts out to Keela, shouts out to my man Tony, Legs, Jarrell, Show, Timbo, KP, my big brother Sandy, my cousin Jawari. Shouts out to everybody who are out there being really, 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 really good fathers at the young age that they are, man. Because there is a thing out there that they're saying there's no good fathers. All black. There's no good fathers at all, and I firmly believe that is stereotypical because, like I said earlier in the show, I don't know any deadbeat fathers at all. Probably because a lot of the males that I'm around are stand-up guys, and I'd be damned if I know a stand-up father because myself and the group of men that are around, we're definitely going to hold each other accountable.
Yes, sir, we do.
So if you know any stand-up, if you know any deadbeat fathers, make sure you hold that individual accountable. If you know a father who is trying their ass off, but you have that mother who is really aggressive and toxic and holding everything down, and they're just bitter and resenting you for things that went on well before the child was even here. As Keela said, make sure that father understands that he shouldn't give up, because if you give up, you're not giving up on the mother. What you're giving up on is the child.
Yes,
you're giving up on being a father. That's one thing that you definitely should not give up on.
Yes, sir.
So as always, man, thank everyone for tuning in.
Man, I appreciate you having me, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. This was a good start off the year with this. This is real good, man. This is
start
real
off the
good.
year with this. This is a good one. Next week is gonna be kind of crazy.
Okay, I'm tuning in next week. I'm for sure tuning
in.
in.
Crazy, but we'll get to that next week. As always, man, thank you. Ain't no wealth without mental health. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be good, y'all. Peace.
I'll be blessed. I enjoyed this one.